I'm zen, I'm patient, I'm confident, and I curse a little. By Ness Molina. Dear friend, nice of you to have stumbled upon my book. You're probably wondering why I started writing and pursuing what I loved back in high school. I finally decided to listen to a few of my English teachers who encouraged me to write, even though I have no idea where they are today. I've been through my own hell, and I'm finally making my way to the top of the mountain where the view is worth gasping for. I never like to say through hell and back, as I believe that going forward is the only way after we make it past our own struggles. Life is an experience, and I do believe that the destination isn't quite as important as the journey, curiosity, and lesson. I have met so many amazing people along the way and experienced the power of the universe through them. I discovered not only an undying love for myself, but love from others, abundance, things falling apart to make room for new endeavors, and discomfort that grew my strength and resilience. I went through my own rebirth by deciding to surrender to everything, including the unknown. I am here to share with you a few things I learned from other people's teachings that I was able to use in my own healing and self-discovery. These are things that resonated with me and have influenced my life ever since. It was my belief that in order for me to stay on the path, I had to acknowledge everything that I needed to do differently. All the times I have failed, I learned what not to do. And I have made the choice that this was a process of elimination, not so much a failure. My hope is that you learned something simple from this book that will profoundly impact your life. My goal is to give you an aha moment and hold your hand through your newfound belief in yourself. I'm not here to boss you around. I am here to cheer you on. You don't need to use every part of this book. You only need to practice what got you feeling things in your bones, and when all is said and done, I wish for you to thank yourself for all the work you've done and recognize that you were your own hero throughout this book. It wasn't me, it was you. Please take credit for everything because my only aim is to share parts of my life that may be similar to yours and encourage that to spark some inspiration. If you are ready, keep on reading and allow yourself the self-awareness every time you encounter a question that you feel you must ask yourself. This book is not a journal like the first one I wrote, and is made for you to gain some sense of adventure, create your own analysis, discover your own light bulb moments, and come up with your own ideas. You may use this book with a companion notebook or just simply read it. The only thing I ask is that you introduce this to someone after it's given you some insight and courage. I'd like to think that I took the path to wilderness to gain strength and knowledge, have the time to explore worst-case scenarios, and discover my resilience over and over again. In other words, I ask for growth, and the universe delivered the tests, lessons, and discomfort. I was forced to look at things from a different perspective, and for that, I am grateful. Good things truly take time, and I have chosen to invest in them. It's time to rock your own world. The unapologetic, guilt-free, and shameless Ness. Of bacon. Prologue. Just like any other bad day, this was one of those Saturdays when I had to find a reason exactly why I am on planet Earth. I only had 2 $1 bills in my wallet and some coins, running out of toilet paper, and I had nothing but a piece of bacon and 1 egg for breakfast. In short, I was back to being broke and exhausted from lack of sleep. I still managed to get myself out of bed, and as my only piece of bacon got cooked on the stove, I got my recyclables ready and put them in bags. But of course, I had turned the heat a little too high, and by the time all my recyclables had all been put together, my bacon was also almost burned. As a pessimist, the first thought I had was that this is simply a prediction of my day. It was going to be dreadful. I decided not to waste food, and I sat down for breakfast. I sucked it up. This seemed to be the usual tune of my life. I suck everything up. When things get rough, I cry about it, but I suck it up. Most of the time, I would not deal with it. Sucking it up is different from dealing with it. Sucking it up means staying down and letting things pass. Dealing with it means finding solutions to problems while staying calm and collected. I promised myself that this would be the day I put my life together, and that just like my recyclables, I would throw away anything in my life that was unnecessary. My electricity was just waiting to be shut down. I only had 30 miles of gas in my car. And I got mail just 3 days ago from a municipal court. Life seemed to always be like a hamster wheel, and change always seems slow moving. I wrote a to-do list on a small dry erase board. Yes, that day, August 10th, 2019, was going to be the day that I changed my life. Wrong. It didn't happen that day. I did not listen to the universe, and I let many weeks pass by. I went about my days, went to work, and decided to be ordinary. I acted out of fear. Effort? F. I was still under my old limiting beliefs. At the time, I was still working at the gym. I was not happy, but I was content. I had a job, I was living with a purpose, and helping people get fit. And my schedule was good enough to where I could drop my daughter off to school and pick her up in the afternoon. I only had one job, and I was partly self-employed, running corporate wellness classes twice a week. Life was not terrible, although I was still living paycheck to paycheck with occasional broke and $5 wine moments. Little did I know, a few months later, I would get an opportunity for another wake-up call. For some of us, it takes hitting rock bottom before we decide to act on something that we have been wanting to do for a long time. We assume it as a little nudge from the universe. For a long time, I took my failures as an excuse and a crutch. I took it as I was always going to be this way. I became a single parent and always struggled with money. My mindset about it remained the same for years. This is exactly how I am always going to be. Because I'm a single mom, I will struggle, as this is how single moms are supposed to be. I felt that by accepting my situation, I could be at peace with it, and it would keep myself from stressing over it. In reality, the only way to get rid of the problem is to make the decision to change my situation. The truth was, I lacked confidence more than I lacked the resources. I turned myself into a victim and used my past experiences to justify why I was a victim. I was a college dropout, lived with mom and dad for a long time before I moved away after meeting my daughter's dad. Then I ended up moving back to Cleveland to raise our child around family, and all the while living with mom and dad. Again, because we just could not get our financial situation under control. I was a stay-at-home mom because it didn't make sense for me to work just so I could use the money to put my daughter in daycare. And when things got rough for us, we called it quits in 2011. The same year I got divorced was the same year I got diagnosed with cervical cancer. The 6 months through divorce was rough, and my struggle was extended when, right after I just got my new job as a fitness coach, I got my old truck fixed, and started thinking that the universe was finally giving me freedom, the trip to my OBGYN revealed that I had cancer. At 31 years old, I was the youngest in the chemotherapy room, and while I was going through my treatments, it was my daughter that took the blow because she had to go to daycare all of a sudden and wondered why mom was gone all the time. Daddy also just moved out, and I could not imagine then just what my daughter must have been feeling. My parents were still working, so they could not look after my daughter when I went to the hospital for my treatments. I took all these events as a punishment from the universe. This is how my limited belief started. That when something great finally happens, I get taken back down to reality by having something unimpressive pop up. I just started a new job and was finally beginning to feel independent. And the universe said, wait a minute, I feel like messing with you a little bit longer. It was not the cancer that gave me the negative mindset about life. It was the aftermath that got me thinking that I was simply not God's favorite, because more suckage came that made me wonder why I was kept alive, aside from the fact that my daughter would have a mother. My treatments forced me into menopause. I avoided getting the surgery thinking that the chemotherapy and radiation would save my eggs. Boy, was I wrong. My dream of having 5 kids quickly dissipated as the doctor reminded me that the best motivation for me was to live for the one I have, instead of wishing for more kids. Not to mention, sex was going to be painful. I was told that I was always going to bleed during intercourse, and I knew I would never feel like a woman ever again. So the scarcity mindset and the thinking that my day was always going to start with a burnt piece of bacon began and remained for years. As I get to the final stages of this book, it is now July of 2024. It took a lot of healing, many nights contemplating my life, many days figuring out what it is I truly want, many months doing uncomfortable things, and constantly feeding my curiosity. Just like a bud, I had to push myself out of the soil and know in my heart that I deserved the space to grow my roots, extend my branches, shed my leaves, anticipate spring, and grow them all over again. I had to learn to embrace discomfort and realize that it is a requirement for growth, not a punishment. I had to develop new routines for myself, meet new people, try new places, go through different adventures, mend many heartbreaks, and trust that rejection meant new opportunities. It was a huge process and did not take overnight. I had to love myself regardless of what was happening, through failures, uncertainty, losses, and wins. I had to accept myself for what was and empower myself for what is to come. Self-acceptance was most definitely easier said than done. I am still a single mom living in Cleveland, still imperfect in many ways, but I am better, stronger, more positive. I know how to shut up my doubts, and I can smile at strangers without fear. The chapters will cover a lot of the things that I had to go through and the inner healings I did to reset my mind, body, and soul. I had to expand and allow myself the journey to finally shift my paradigm, and through all the tears, the laughter, and the in-betweens, it was so worth it. The pages I wrote are here to encourage you to forge your own path by eliminating any negative beliefs that got you to where you are today. Cheers to your journey. Let's get you out of the curtains so people can finally see how bright your light is.